What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Inside 11, and right now, man, we're talking about trauma, memory, recall, error. Check this out, man. A lot of the times, there's a lot of traumas, a lot of negativities, or just let's just say experiences that come from our past and stuff like that, that can be recalled by our conscious mind from our subconscious mind and shit like that. And that when we recall that trauma, we're actually living based upon a precursor where now the experiences that we're generating is based upon some negative experience that is not based upon the present moment. We're not necessarily in a clarity space, so the experiences that we jump into just be based upon some negative experience. And if we use those negative experiences all the time, here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with learning and go through a negative experience, but if you hold on to it, then you don't necessarily have clarity, so you can't necessarily experience the present moment clearly, because the mind is cluttered and clouded by an experience from the past. Which, here's the thing, the present moment has nothing to do with it. So if we're constantly clouding our mind with negative experiences from the past, then we're not necessarily actually seeing what awareness is going on in front of us, where there could be something for us in that particular present moment. But based upon us experiencing negative stuff, that belief can come up, right? And it can rise and influence us from within, not realizing that we're not those experiences, we're not the mind, we're just the observer, observing the mind, observing the body and shit like that, right? So that's what we gotta realize and shit, right? So yeah, let's get into this. So the mind is a form that we use to experience. But if that form is recalling trauma-based memories into the present moment, it starts creating offspring thoughts and feelings, right? So if you recall that trauma, negative experience, right? When your spirit, when your observer is in that space, it's in that emotions, in that reality where it becomes real to it. So you may start to create all types of like chemical influences in your body where you feel all these feelings and stuff like that, right? And then when you're spending time in that and you're living in the present moment and you're living from that space, the offspring thoughts and feelings of that is going to be coming from a traumatic space. It's not necessarily coming from a clarity space of mind. So we have to keep in mind that, not to recall these things so we don't necessarily clutter our mind and shit like that, so we're not creating thoughts and feelings that are offsprings of a trauma. The thoughts and feelings that we want to create should come from a space of clarity where we see clearly what's going on in front of us without necessarily our own bias in it. Now we can have a negative experience, but I recommend just learning from it and just being able to let it go, because in that negative experience there is awareness, there is learning as well, but it's a small awareness, it's a small part of life, and it's not all of life. That's like saying all white people are the fucking KKK. That's like saying all black people are the devil. That's like saying niggers shoot, kill, and play basketball all day. That's like a bias and shit. That's not real. That's just in people's minds and shit. And people are so convinced of what's going on in their mind to the point that it becomes the reality. So you really got to be careful of what thoughts and feelings you hold on to your mind, or what thoughts and feelings that you're recalling from your past, because a lot of the times these things don't need to be animated. These things just be experiences that come and go, so we should just let them go, where these things can become learning lessons, but we don't have to use those things in the present, because a lot of times it just clutters and clouds the mind, because a lot of people don't know what they're doing in their with their mind and stuff like that, where we literally live in a world that promotes, hey, it's okay to be a victim. Hey, it's okay to be, mentally ill, like that type of shit. Like the world doesn't necessarily even want you to be in a clear space. So they want you to play victim, but I don't recommend that, because it's messing up your current present moment observations, where we're not observing things from a clear space. We're observing things from a mind that is actually cluttered and preoccupied with something that already happened, and it's recalling that information into the present moment, right? And we don't necessarily need to be doing that if we want to experience this from a clear awareness space and shit, right? So when you recall these traumas, it creates thoughts and feelings that are offspring, which acts as a precursor filter to continue generating second comings of that stored in memory, you know what I'm saying, and shit like that. Where a lot of the experiences that we may be generating, it may come through different people, at different places doing different things, but the character, the mind itself, if it's still in that same mind frame of the past, we're still going to be generating those actions, generating those behaviors based upon not understanding those impulses and shit like that, and not understanding that, oh, I'm not these things, I'm just observing these things, so let me take my awareness on, let me put my awareness on something else, so I stop regenerating second comings of that experience that I had in the past, because a lot of the times it's not allowing us to see clearly and shit like that, right? So basically, reanimating the past on your mind recreates that reality in some way, shape, or form, right? Be it micro thought and feeling in the form of chemicals that are rising in your body, right? Maybe in your childhood you got abused and shit like that. If you recall that experience, you're literally gonna recreate that experience chemically in your mind and body, and you're gonna believe that that's reality and stuff like that, right? So it's like, where it's like your psyche may be conditioned in a particular way to recreate that, and you may be doing that unknowingly, but now that you're watching this video, you can know that you're doing that, and you can get the fuck out of that and stuff like that, right? And here's the thing, if we don't get out of that micro thought and feeling that we keep recalling to the present and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with the present moment, right? We're gonna recreate that experience in some way, shape, or form in the external world, right? You ever see someone that's really angry? They're probably angry about some shit in their past, and what happens? They just blow up when something in front of them doesn't go their way and stuff like that, right? And you can take that with a lot of different emotions. You can take that with jealousy and stuff like that. So someone in the past or some shit like that, someone may have made this, I don't know, it's like people minds is clouded with all types of emotions, all types of like low vibrational shit, right? Let's say for example someone experienced a lot of fear when they were younger, right? They can recreate that, recall that micro thought and feeling, and operate from that precursor and stuff like that, and create thoughts and feelings that are offsprings of that fear, immobilizing them from actually having confidence and taking action towards something that is beneficial for them, because they're in their mind, they're still living from a space of that trauma, and they're not taking their awareness away from that, right? Whereas that we can spend a lot of time in these things and shit like that, right? So when we're able to get rid of that micro, take our awareness off that micro, right? We're able to observe a new micro where we're coming from a space of clarity by not observing these things. And it takes time, because nothing is easy. It takes time and energy, right? So we can actually condition our mind into something different and shit like that, right? So that micro thought and feeling, now we're creating new micro thoughts and feelings, right? Based upon the present moment, because now we're not cluttered by the past. And now we're actually, our mind is more free to have new thoughts and feelings. And these new thoughts and feelings can take us into new experiences, because now we're not judging things based upon some negative shit that happened to us, traumas, negative memories, lack of validations, shit that was said to us that was probably like nonsensical and shit like that, right? So it just really depends on what you're doing with your mind. When you know what you're doing with your mind and you're in a space of clarity, you're a bad motherfucker. Because this is why, right? Because now this is it. Because basically from what I've said earlier, this is an observer using an outdated light awareness, where now you're recalling memories, information that you're looking at in your mind, and that light is outdated. It's an outdated awareness. It already happened. It's gone now. But if you keep, recreating it in your mind, you're gonna keep recreating it, right? So basically, this is an observer using an outdated light awareness or condensed experience that happened to them to view their current present moment, which brings them which brings them far from the present moment, right? Because there could be something really good in the present moment, right? But if we don't have the clarity, if our mind is fucking flooded, if our mind is drowning, if we're drowning in emotions, right? We're not gonna be able to experience that present moment from a clear space, where there could be something that's actually for you in that present moment, right? But if we're not coming from a space of clarity, we're not gonna be able to experience what's actually good for us in that present moment and shit. Because we're too busy lost in the past. You can literally live in $1 million house. You can have the best things in the world, but if you're living from a space of the past, negative shit, where you're recalling that trauma into the present, now you're not living from clarity. And that's why I call it a trauma memory recall error, because it's an error, because we're not living in the present moment. So we're not observing things from a pure space, right? Because when you're observing things from a pure space, right, you're privy to what light, what awareness someone else has on their mind, because you're not clouded. So you're just looking at things without a prejudgment. So now you're looking at people's behaviors, you're looking at people's actions, you're looking at people's reactions, and now you're making a clear, sound judgment, and that judgment is not coming from that trauma, negative memory space. So now we're actually experiencing things clearly, and we're using our mind to calculate the present moment. Now we're not using our mind to calculate things from past variables and bringing those past variables into the present moment, because these are going to play out as miscalculations for the present moment that are actually inaccurate appraisals for what's going on within that present moment and shit like that, right? And yeah, man, that's all I really wanted to say for today. With that being said, there's no video tomorrow and Sunday. I got a lot of stuff to do that's related to creativity and stuff, because I have been behind on a lot of my creative stuff. So I'm trying to right now run as much as possible 100 miles an hour and start building up skill proficiencies in areas, or continue where I left off at least, and shit like that. And yeah, man, that's all. With that being said, give me a favor, make sure you like this video, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share. This way we can kick YouTube's motherfucking ass, because you know that algorithm is motherfucking wild and shit. With that being said, everybody, peace out. No more trauma memory recall error for you. Homeboy, homegirl, real stuff.